Chicago Fire still hasn't solved its big Casey and Brett replacement problem, and season 14 will make it worse. With Casey and Brett gone, Chicago Fire has yet to strike gold with its next slow burn couple, and the show's struggles will only worsen in season 14. The NBC procedural drama series has produced many great TV romances. From Severide and Kid to Casey and Brett, Chicago Fire has had its fair share of engrossing, beloved love stories. Casey and Brett got married in Chicago Fire season 12 and drove off into the sunset, Aka, Oregon, together. Consequently, the show needed to find a replacement couple. Chicago Fire has seemingly always had a slow burn will they/want they dynamic, so it needed to produce one quickly. The series has explored a couple of options, but they'll both be gone by season 14. Jake Lockett, who plays Sam Carver, and Michael Bradway, Jack Damon, are set to exit Chicago Fire ahead of season 14. Lockett's, along with Daniel Keary's, Darren Ritter, departure was announced before the season 13 finale. NBC reportedly needed to make some budget cuts, and Lockett and Keary were the ones who paid the price. Bradway's exit from Chicago Fire wasn't announced until July 2025, when he was cast to play Charlie Florek in Every Year After, Prime Video's TV adaptation of Carly Fortune's book, Every Summer After. Production began right away, meaning Bradway was unavailable to film Chicago Fire. As such, NBC's show is down two possible/new couples, Carver and Violet, and Damon and Novak. Carver and Violet's relationship started as a friends with benefits situation until he decided he wanted more. Violet wasn't ready, though, leading to their breakup. Then Carver and Violet spent all of season 13 pining for one another. Chicago Fire season 13 ended with Carver and Violet kissing and confessing their love, but Lockett's exit seemingly negates the possibility of a future for them. Meanwhile, Damon and Novak's relationship was also casual at first, and unfortunately, it will likely always stay that way due to Bradway's departure. The Chicago Fire season 13 finale didn't touch upon their romance, meaning the series will never get to thoroughly explore what Damon and Novak's story could be, unless Bradway returns. Even though romance isn't the main focus of Chicago Fire, it's still pretty important within the One Chicago universe. In fact, it plays a significant role in most TV shows in general. People love having a couple to root for or against, and by having one, two, or a few, it's easier to draw them in to watch said TV series. In the earlier seasons of Chicago Fire, it was all about Casey and Gabby Dawson. She was in love with him while he was engaged. Their story was intriguing from the start, and although their relationship ended in heartbreak in Chicago Fire, Casey and Dawson set the standard for all the couples who followed them. Without Casey and Brett, who were Firehouse 51's hit romance for many seasons, Chicago Fire feels stale. It needs a new will they/want they do to freshen up the show. Chicago Fire was evidently setting up Carver and Violet and slasher Damon and Novak to be Casey and Brett's replacements, but that dream will be all but lost when season 14 premieres. The good news is that a new actor is joining the Chicago Fire cast as a series regular in season 14, despite Lockett, Keary, and Bradway's exits. Brandon Luriquente will appear in a key role in the upcoming episodes. Not much is known about his character, but he could be coming to Chicago Fire to help fill its Brett and Casey-shaped hole. Luriquente is likely portraying a firefighter who Firehouse 51 brings in to replace Carver, Ritter, or Damon. They will be down 3 men, so they'll need all the help they can get. However, when Luriquente's Chicago Fire season 14 character arrives, perhaps he'll hit it off with somebody at the fire station, probably Violet or Novak, since they're the only single ones. But if Lara Kunt is coming to serve as one half of Chicago Fire's next epic romance, one has to wonder why the series is letting go of Lockett. Bradway's departure is understandable, given his scheduling conflicts. However, Violet and Carver's story in Chicago Fire was intriguing and only getting started. They could have easily been the next Casey and Brett. Whatever the case, Season 14 needs a new romance fast. It also has to feel right, though, and appeal to the audience. Maybe Lara Kunt's character can bring exactly what the show needs, but only time will tell what Chicago Fire has in store in the love department. Firehouse 51 has always been the heart and soul of Chicago Fire. But when fan favorites Matt Casey, Jess Spencer, and Sylvie Brett, Kara Kilmer, left, it wasn't just the halls of the firehouse that felt empty. It was the viewers' hearts, too. Now heading into Season 13, that hole remains glaringly unfilled. And the Band-Aid solutions the show has tried to apply just aren't sticking. If anything, they're threatening to rip the very fabric of the show apart. For years, Casey and Brett weren't just characters. They were pillars. Casey brought leadership, steadiness, and a quiet emotional depth that anchored the chaos around him. Brett offered warmth, professionalism, and a subtle fierceness that fans deeply admired. Together, they were not only a romantic pairing that had been building for years, but also emotional glue for the ensemble. With both gone now, Casey off in Oregon with a noble mission and Brett choosing to follow love out of the Windy City, the series has been struggling to regain its footing. The replacements haven't quite cut it. Jake Gibson was introduced as a hotshot firefighter with a mysterious past, but despite his smoldering good looks and action hero energy, he lacks Casey's gravitas. His leadership style is more chaotic than commanding, and while he's meant to be a fresh energy, fans haven't connected with him on a deeper level. He comes across more like a temporary plug than a lasting fit. Meanwhile, for Brett's absence, paramedic Lila Novak was brought in with a big splash, a no-nonsense, straight-talking EMT from Boston with something to prove. Yet her arrival has been met with lukewarm reactions. Critics say she feels more like a character from another show entirely, lacking the warmth and camaraderie that made Brett so beloved. But perhaps the most glaring issue isn't who's been brought in. It's what their presence represents. It feels like Chicago Fire is trying too hard to replace Casey and Brett with carbon copies instead of letting new characters organically find their place. The emotional storytelling that once defined the series has been lost in the scramble to keep things exciting. Plots that once revolved around the deep bonds between team members now often feel like setups for action sequences or empty drama. And the truth is, the show is starting to feel off. Season 12 limped to the finish line trying to juggle the absence of Casey and Brett while introducing new dynamics that never quite landed. With the show attempting to focus more on Severide, Taylor Kinney, and Stella Kidd, Miranda Ray Mayo, to fill the leadership vacuum, it's shifted the tone in ways both good and bad. Severide has always had a magnetic screen presence, but his brooding introspection was best counterbalanced by Casey's steadiness. Without that balance, Severide's darkness often feels overwhelming, and Kidd's firecracker energy can't quite shoulder the entire emotional load either. Even more concerning is the writer's rumored plan for Season 13. Introduce another love interest for Severide, someone from his past, and reassign Lila Novak to a crossover paramedic team, essentially hitting the reset button again. But what Chicago Fire doesn't seem to realize is that the problem isn't solved by simply adding new faces. It's solved by returning to the emotional core that once made Firehouse 51 feel like home. It's about earning replacements through development, not forcing them into a mold that no longer fits. The chemistry between characters used to be built over seasons. Remember how long it took for Casey and Brett's will. They want the arc to finally blossom. Or the subtle ways in which Bowden's mentorship helped shape the careers of every single firefighter under his command. That kind of long-game storytelling has taken a backseat to quick fixes and fan service stunts. Fans are noticing, and they're worried. Social media is abuzz with theories that Season 13 may actually accelerate the decline unless something drastic changes. Some are even calling for a return of Casey and Brett, if not as regulars, then at least as recurring characters to provide a sense of closure or continued connection. Others want the show to slow down, focus on the ensemble, and build relationships again, rather than rely on high-stakes fires and dramatic rescues to carry episodes.